Namaste. Today's lesson is going to be about what is yoga. That's our first discussion in our teacher training. But before we go on, let's talk about the books that we're using in our teacher training. One is Teaching Yoga by Mark Stevens. The second is a translation of the Yoga Sutras by Mukunda Styles, Pantajali's Yoga Sutras. We are also using the Bhagavad Gita as a text. And the yoga study guide are little lectures that I've compiled and I've given to you in this little black book. Yeah. So your homework for this week is chapter 1, 2, and 3 in Teaching Yoga, Mark Stevens. It's also Pada 1 in the Pantajali's Yoga Sutras. Okay? Getting back to our little discussion. What is yoga? So what is yoga? Yoga, we are told, comes from a Sanskrit word, yuj. And this word yuj means to yoke, means to connect, it means to join. Yes? And so we translate that word into English as yoke, connecting, union, right? So this is where we get the union of yoga, bringing these two places together. In our little study guide, I give you a little definition about, in pre-automobile age, how the oxen or horses were actually yoked together, yes, to make one powerful machine to plow through the fields. Yes, this is a definition of yoking. And in yoga literature, this symbol is used a lot. Okay? In terms of our contemporary yoga practice, what is it that needs to be harnessed? What is it that needs to be connected or united? Unlike horsepower, we are not only harnessing the power of our bodies, but we're harnessing the powers of our mind. This is the most important lesson to understand about yoga. In our Western society, we are so uberly focused on this physical sense of body-mind, yeah? And a lot of the literature in yoga is really talking about us harnessing the fluctuations of our mind. Pantajali, chapter 1, sutra, in the second sutra, he's saying, yoga is ceasing the fluctuations of the mind. This, in essence, is a definition of yoga. The purpose of yoga, as defined in the Yoga Sutras by Pantajali, and I'll say that again, is to stop the wandering and cravings of the mind and return it to a serene and calm state. Yoga means to control and still the swirling currents of thoughts in the mind. And if you can control the thoughts that arise and still them completely, you are able to observe the world clearly and directly without distortions of your ego. The ability to discipline the chattering mind is what takes us to this state of yoga. When the turbulence stops and the lake of the mind becomes clear, our true essence is reflected, our true self is known. Then the self can abide in its own true nature. This is the goal. This is what we want to attain. So I want you in your journals tonight, after you have done your reading and done your homework, there's 2 entries in your journal that I'd like you to put in. One, I want you to tell me, or tell yourself, or discuss in your journals, how do you live yoga, your yoga, in this urban world? And what does yoga mean to you? What is yoga? What does it mean to you? Is it purely physical? What does it do for you? How do you live it? How do you take the yoga that you do on the mat, in a studio, or at home, and live it outside in this world? Yeah? Let's really identify, you know, that's weird when I say identify. I don't want you identifying a lot of things, but I just want you to recognize how yoga, how you perceive yoga in your world. That's today's lesson. That's the discussion that we're going to have together when we see each other on the weekend. Yoga also means to unite. The essence of this interpretation is that yoga enables us to unite our inner self with our higher, more universal spirit or source or power or whatever it is that you believe in. Yoga also enables us to unite our complete being so that body, breath, and mind and spirit become integrated as one, and we no longer feel separated or cut off. A lot of us feel separated. There's this duality that we live in our life, and we'll get a lot into that duality and non-duality in later lectures. Finally, yoga means perfect action, because once we have achieved the union of our deepest self, having lost or diminished many of our unnecessary desires and selfish egos, we suddenly find ourselves acting spontaneously and correctly in all of life's situations. What happens is that yoga, or this practice, helps us respond differently to situations. We perceive things differently. Marianne Williamson used to say, and she still says it, that a miracle is the shift in our perception. And a miracle happens in yoga. We perceive things differently, and so we're able to respond differently in different situations in life. It's a beautiful thing. So reread all your study guide, chapter 1, 2, and 3 in your Teaching Yoga Mark Stevens book. Please enter those yoga journal entries that I'd like you to do. And most of all, have fun and have a wonderful evening. Sat Nam.